What up, though? What up, though, everybody? Welcome again to another night of prayer, 90 days of prayer, our time of intercession. Thank you all for Dr. Ward. Thank you for tapping in with me. Pleasant surprise. But thank you all for joining me for another night of prayer. Once again, I'm looking forward to hear what God has to speak. And I just want to jump right into things. Uh, what's this? I want to jump right into things. So last night recap, our prayer focus was don't be caught by the look, or in other words, don't be distracted. Don't be distracted. Don't be distracted. Don't be distracted by the look of things. This is we came from the book of First Samuel. We finished out chapter 15 and we went into chapter 16, and it was talking about how Samuel had to let Saul go because God let him go. And we took this perspective. I wanted to bring light. God wanted me to bring light from Samuel's perspective. Samuel had been mourning over the rejection of Saul and the replacement of Saul. Um, And God had to tell him, why are you mourning? Why are you crying? Why are you wasting these tears over someone I rejected? And Samuel had to get himself together and go to find the new appointed king of Israel. God gave us insight on how Samuel was connected because, from my understanding, this was one of the big jobs that God, one of the first big jobs that God put Samuel in place to, carry out. And anytime you do something like for the first time, you put out your first record or you make your first outfit from like sell your first outfit or sell your first dinner, like your heart is in it differently because you remember your first, and to see that his first had been rejected by God, I feel like he took it to heart and felt like part of him had been rejected. So Samuel had to really get out of looking through that lens, because when God sent him to Jesse's house, he had to be able to see through the eyes of God and not to make judgment according to what he think should be in place, because according to what he think would be in place, if he did that, he would find himself in the same predicament trying to find someone else and anoint them as the new king of Israel. um I really want you all to catch the replay from yesterday because it was really, really great. But I think one big thing that really stood out for me was how God showed us that if we don't let go of the failure of our past, if we don't let go of the mistakes of our past, it would influence our perspective on our future assignments. You have to make sure you're allowing God to clear the way, um, deal with your heart, clean up any residue that might be on you, because we don't know. We might think we're over something and we're really not. So we really need God to help us in those areas so we'll be able to judge correctly and have a sober mindset when it comes to the things of God, that we won't add to the word or take away from the word. We want to make sure we're doing our job as effectively as possible. So, like I said, please go check out the replay from yesterday, and I will be going into our prayer focus today. Our prayer focus today is wrestling. And God had me to go to Daniel chapter 10. Daniel chapter 10. God had been dealing with Daniel with visions about something that was on the way, a war that was on the way. And I'm going to be reading from the New Living Translation because I like the clarity that it gives, and it makes everything like kind of flow good. Chapter 10, starting at the first verse, it said, "In the third year of the reign of King Cyrus of Persia, Daniel, also known as Belteshazzar, had another vision. He understood that the vision concerned events certain to happen in the future, times of war and great hardship. Times of war and great hardship. When the vision came to me, I, Daniel, had been in mourning for 3 whole weeks. I think the Bible in those days, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. That's what the King James Version says. 3 full weeks, 21 days. All that time I had eaten no rich food, no meat or wine crossed my lips, and I used no fragrant lotion until those 3 weeks had passed. So he basically fasted, and he did not wash himself, like get himself beautified. He didn't do all the extra stuff that he would do. He was in a place of wrestling spiritually. He was wrestling with this vision. He was wrestling with this request, looking for an answer to come for him. Verse 4, on April 23rd, as I was standing on the bank of the great Tigris River, I looked up and saw a man dressed in linen clothing, with a belt of pure gold around his waist. His body looked like a precious gem. His face flashed like lightning, and his eyes flamed like torches. His arms and feet shone like polished brass, and his voice roared like a vast multitude of people. Listen to what Daniel saw. What a vision to see. Listen to this. Only I, Daniel, saw this vision. The men with me saw nothing, but they were suddenly terrified and ran away to hide. A lot of times you can't explain what you see. A lot of times you can't even get in detail and tell people. You can't even formulate the words of what's going on, what you see, what you feel. You cannot convey that to the ones around you. And a lot of times it's not for you too, because God's dealing with you in that way. As you can see, the people didn't see it, but they knew something was going on, something that they could not be a part of. So they had to go hide it. Why didn't Daniel go hide? Because this was Daniel's assignment. Listen to this. Listen to it. So I was left there all alone to see this amazing vision. My strength left me. My face grew deathly pale, and I felt very weak. Then I heard a man speak, and when I heard the sound of his voice, I fainted and laid there with my face to the ground. This is a supernatural encounter. Woo! Just then, a hand touched me and lifted me, still trembling, to my hands and knees. And the man said to me, Daniel, you are very precious to God. So listen carefully to what I have to say to you. Stand up, for I have been sent to you. When he said this to me, I stood up still trembling. Still trembling. You asked for the answer. Then he said, don't be afraid, Daniel. Since the first day you began to pray for understanding and to humble yourself before your God, your requests have been heard in heaven. In the King James Version, it says, then said he unto me, fear not, Daniel, for from the first day that thou didst set thine heart to understanding and to chasten thyself before thy God, thy words were heard. I am come for thy word, and I have come for thy word. Listen to this. But for 21 days, the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia blocked my way. Listen to this wrestling, this warfare that's going on. Then Michael, one of the archangels, came to my help, and I left him there with the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia. So in order for me to get this answer to you, I had to have someone come and step in for me, because this spirit was on an assignment to delay, to block, to remove me from getting this answer to you. Now I am here to explain what will happen to your people in the future, for this vision concerns a time yet to come. Jesus. While he was speaking to me, I looked down at the ground, unable to say a word. Then the one who looked like a man touched my lips, and I opened my mouth and began to speak. I said to the one standing in front of me, I am filled with anguish, because the vision I have seen. My Lord, I am very weak. Have you ever been in that place that God was dealing with you so heavy that it took a lot out of you? You were seeing it in your dreams. You couldn't sleep at night. You had to read. You had to pray. You had to, because this thing that God would not let go. It arrested your spirit. The way God is dealing, the way God is troubling you, that you couldn't even talk it out. People not understanding you, people not paying no attention, and you can even hear the people's thoughts saying, "I think they crazy. I think there's something wrong." God's dealing with you. I've been in that place. I'm in that place. How can someone like me, your servant, talk to you, my Lord? My strength is gone, and I can hardly breathe. Then the one who looked like a man touched me again, and I felt my strength returning. Don't be afraid, he said, for you are very precious to God. Peace. Be encouraged. Be strong. As he spoke these words to me, I suddenly felt stronger and said to him, please speak to me, my Lord, for you have strengthened me. He replied, do you know why I have came? Why I have come? Soon I must return to fight against the spirit prince of the kingdom of Persia, and after that the spirit prince of the kingdom of Greece will come. Whew. Meanwhile, I will tell you what is written in the book of truth. No one helps me against these spirit princes except Michael, your spirit prince. Oh God. God help me to get this out. Help me to get this out. I was led here because of an encounter I had. This week, I was told that I was fighting while I was asleep. They told me, they said, you worried me, you alarmed me because I watched you sleep and you were jumping and you were kicking, you were fighting. You had me worried. And I knew what was going on. I even heard myself talking in my sleep. It was waking me up. And because I knew the person was in the room, I tried to play it off. But I was so in this thing. I was so in it. I talked to my mama today. Y'all know I'm always mentioning her because she's the one. And she brought something to my attention. She brought something to my attention. She said to me, you are in the thick of something, to the point that you are warring in the spirit. And I said, oh God, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what's going on. And God led me to this because he wanted me to show you all something. He wanted to bring light to something. That this war that's going on, he has sent spiritual help. Because this answer that you are this question, I should say, these things that God is dealing with you, how he's dealing with you. And I'm asking you, he that has an ear, hear what the Spirit is trying to say. I'm just trying to convey it and get it out. God help me. It's, to be honest, it's a little struggle today to kind of articulate exactly what's going on. But I just got to say it how I feel it. The stakes have been raised because we are embarking on something. We are so close to something, and there's something trying to block and delay our answer. Block and delay our manifestation. Even now, I'm trying to, it's getting me choked up. But 1 second. Even now, God has sent the answer, but God showed me something. He said, we have to be as Daniel was. We have to be planted in prayer. We have to be planted in him. In order to not lose focus, in order for us not to grow weary and well-doing, we have to be planted. We have to be grounded in the word. We have to be grounded in prayer. We have to be grounded in fasting, because the answer that we are seeking is that vital. Daniel said he went into mourning. He didn't feed himself. He didn't do the things that he normally would do, because he was looking and searching for clarity, for an answer, for results. But there was a principality that he was fighting against. There was something that he was fighting against to delay his answer. I want to go to this other scripture that God led me to go to. And I believe that this was my answer to help me to stay focused until I see exactly what I need to see, till I get exactly what I need to get. Oh, that's not it. I'm sorry. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood. That's it. And Ephesians 6 and 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. In my wrestling, in my fight, in my warfare, I was fighting with someone I knew very well, someone that's near and dear to me. And I shared with my mom who it was, and I told her, to be honest, I was, what's the word? I was satisfied with what was going on. I had tried to get to this individual in my dreams to fight them before, and it didn't happen. It was like something was blocking me. But this Monday when I had the dream, I got them, and it was so satisfying. And I felt bad because I felt like I shouldn't have felt that way, but I didn't feel bad for really feeling satisfied for fighting this person. I just felt like I was supposed to feel bad simply because who the person was. Hey, Janiyah. Um, but my mom said something to me, and it really refocused me. She said, like I said, you're in the thick of things, and you're fighting, you're wrestling in the spirit. And it brought me to Ephesians 6 and 12. Sometimes God will use certain people's faces in order to get your attention more. So don't always take the ones that we see as the evil one per se. And maybe God is showing you that's the one that the enemy is using. But you have to know that we wrestle not against flesh and blood. I know this seems like I'm all over the place. Like I said, this one is a little difficult for me today, simply because I wish I could articulate everything I feel. But it's hard. It's just hard. My brothers and sisters, I want to really leave this with you. Ephesians 6 and 12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. We don't wrestle against the things that we see, our sisters, our brothers. Man, but you got to know your opponent. It's in the spirit. It's against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against the wickedness in high places. That's all that this answer was against. Literally, the answer that God sent to Daniel was up against these principalities, these spiritual wickedness of this world. I need for you all to refocus. I need for us, and this is a word for me, like every other word, we need to make sure we refocus and ask God, because I didn't even ask God. God, what are you trying to show me in this? We got to make sure we're always consulting God in this fight that we're in, because we're closer than we think. We are in the thick of things. We are in the thick of things. Literally 29 days left. And I'm expecting answers. I'm expecting results. I'm expecting manifestation. I'm expecting blessings. I'm expecting clarity, interpretations, elevation. I'm expecting many things. But just because it's delayed, don't move. Make sure you're planted. Like Daniel was. He was planted. He was planted. He had to do some things that other people did not do in order for him to be able to see what he needed to see. I don't think it's strange that he went on that 21-day fast and that he was the only one to see this vision and everybody else couldn't, even though they felt the results of it. They felt it. They just couldn't see it. Daniel had to be prepared for this. And that's our word. We got to be prepared for this, whatever this is in your life. Father, I know this one was a hard one for me to, like I've said previously, articulate. But I truly believe that I am giving what you told me to give. I truly believe that you have given me instructions on how to wait and receive the answer, and how to remain focused while we're planted. I believe you gave it to me. I believe you gave it to me. Because if we don't, we'll be wrestling with ourselves. We'll be wrestling with ourselves. Should I move? Should I not move? It's always something going on. We have to be inclined to you, Lord. This fight, this thing that we're in, this is no easy task. This is no easy assignment. But it will be more than worth it. We just got to remain focused. We just got to stay planted. We got to stay grounded. And we got to remember who our opponent is. It's not flesh and blood, but it's the spirit. Even if flesh and blood is talking against you, there's a spirit operating behind it. Even if flesh and blood is coming against you naturally, there's a spirit that's operating behind it. There's something else. It's a spirit that's driving that flesh. It's a spirit. And if we're not careful, if we're not grounded, if we're not planted, we can also be used by that spirit. Help us, Lord. Help us, Lord, to be in place and position to see this answer, receive this answer. Whew. Lord, have mercy. Something's big is coming. You're really trying to prepare us. Don't miss it because of the face. Don't miss it because of what's said or what's done. Stay grounded. Stay planted. Stay focused. Refocus. Remember who your fight is against. Ask God to reveal what spirit is at work right now. The Bible said it like this. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. You have said it with clarity who our opponents are. So before we get mad and react wrong, before we get caught up in our emotions, help us to refocus and get grounded again, get planted again. That's why we have to be planted. We have to be grounded. We have to be in your word. We have to be at your feet. We need to be fasting. We need to be praying, because our emotions will dictate our movements, our thought patterns. And we can't, We don't need to be governed by our emotions right now, our flesh. We're too close. Too close. So help us, Lord. Thank you for sending this warning. Thank you for sending this word at this time. We give you all the glory, honor, and praise in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all for tapping in with me once again. I know tonight word, it felt different. Well, for me at least, it felt different. It felt kind of a little all over the place. But I thank God for, in my opinion, bringing it together at the end. I truly do believe that God sent this word at this set time for a reason. Remember who your opponent is. It's the principalities, it's the powers, it's the rulers of the darkness of this world, and it's the spiritual wickedness in high places. Not flesh and blood. Not flesh and blood. Not your sister, not your brother, not your siblings, not your parents, not your grandparents, not your mom, not your aunties, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews. It's a spirit that's controlling or driving them. And make sure you don't yield to the same spirit. Make sure you're planted and you're grounded. Love you all. If you want to sow into good ground, please do so by sending cash app to $ We Are Judah Arts. And as you can see, it's on Facebook and YouTube in our lower thirds going across the bottom of the screen. And I will put it in the description under this video at the end of this. Thank you all so much. Continue to pray for me as I pray for you. And I will see you all tomorrow, Lord's willing. Thank you. Love you. Yep.